What is up? We're back in the saddle again. It's been a while. Hello, everybody. Hello, Peanut Gallery. Hello, Sabres fans. Hello, hockey fans. Hello, all of you. We're back. It's been how long has it been, Hurls?
Few weeks.
It's been a few weeks. I won't lie. I won't lie. I would have expected, because I know we've talked about going on sooner. Things didn't match up. I mean, kind of is what it is. But I would have kind of expected that, because I know we wanted to do a pod hopefully after things happened, right? Like we wanted to let's do this when there's big news. Like we want to do a pod talking about what happened, but literally nothing's happened. I mean, yeah, some staff hirings for sure. I mean, yeah, you have some signings, but since we last recorded, there's nothing really to report, girls.
Yeah, we're in the dog days of summer, and that could last honestly up until training camp because this is the dead time of the NHL offseason. Free agency has passed by, the draft has passed by. Everybody's at their cottage in Canada or Europe or wherever they may be. It seems like there's not much activity whatsoever. Although 30 minutes ago, Jason Robertson signed a
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. Yep.
signed a 1 year, $12 million deal with the Dallas Stars. So seemingly he will be with the Stars this season, and who knows after that. Eligible to sign an extension still, but that makes me think that they weren't able to come to an agreement. But that's been a very hot topic trade proposal idea for a lot of Sabres fans to hopefully bring an elite talent like that to the team. Doesn't seem like that's going to happen this year. And then there's the Patrick Kane discussion, which feels like has gone on for over a month now. Him reportedly deciding to go back to Chicago or come home to Buffalo and finish out his career with his hometown team. I still have no idea what's going to happen. I really think that he is going to stretch this out. It's him and LeBron James right now.
Yeah, literally.
Two of the greatest American athletes of all time at the end of their careers, similar ages, honestly, in terms of their respective sports, similar profiles in terms of what they've accomplished. But yeah, I think they're both going to extend it as long as they possibly can to find the best fit, find the best situation, and the best contract. So we'll
And
see.
you
Yeah,
and you want to know what, man? Like he's mad that he's earned that right? Like in my opinion, he has.
for sure.
I don't think. I mean, preferably, yeah, we all probably would have liked this to have been done by now, right? So we're not continuously talking about it, talking about kind of you know, this vicious cycle every time he's available, whether he signed a 1 year deal or whatever it was. Like, just kind of tired of talking about it. But I will say this, man. I don't know how many more stars need to align for this guy to want to come to Buffalo. You
Yeah,
know,
no, yeah.
At
Had
what
plenty of
point are we just
opportunities.
all right, I'm done. I'm just
No,
done
I
with it.
mean,
I'm
he's
done wanting this to happen.
had plenty of opportunity, that's for sure. But like you said, at this point in his career, he's earned the right to be picky and he's earned the right to figure out what is going to be the best situation for him. Whether that's the best situation for the Sabres, I'm not necessarily sure at this moment because there's been talks that if Patrick Kane signs with the Sabres, that would mean potentially that Consta Helenus would start the season in Rochester. And I don't think anyone wants that.
No.
I would prefer Consta Helenus to be in the opening night lineup over Patrick Kane. And I think a lot of people would agree with that in terms of how impactful he was in the postseason, how great he was in Rochester last year. You want to see him develop quicker if possible so that he can become a consistent full-time NHL guy. And any path to block that, I don't think is necessarily a great idea. So it's a nuanced situation, and I think it's a little bit complicated, and everybody and your mother has an opinion on it. But I think regardless of all of that, it would be really, really cool to see the hometown kid come home for one of his final seasons in the NHL and in the right situation, hopefully make a solid impact on the team and the power play, most likely.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think necessarily just because Pat Kane comes here that means constantly. I don't think there's any chance Hellenius is starting the AHL next year. I think he proved in big spots in the playoffs throughout last season when he was called upon that he can play in the NHL. I think it'd be foolish to have him play in the AHL. Like, what's he got left to prove there? Nothing. Like, literally nothing. I don't see the advantage. It's not like with a goalie where, you know, an extra year might be beneficial. Like, I don't see the advantage to his development of having him play another year in the AHL. So if you're bringing in a Patrick Kane, then that means bodies are moving out. Right now, you have to move bodies out. You have too many guys on this roster as is, too many forwards. Yeah, Kulik, I could totally see him starting the AHL because of the blood clot situation. Like, you just can't expect that guy to be like, all right, let's play in the NHL next season. Like, no, like it's not realistic. You know, that was a life threatening thing he went through. So yeah, I could see him being the AHL next year for sure. But Constantinius, absolutely not. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I would hope not. That's just something that has at least been thrown out there as a possibility based upon if Kane were to come to Buffalo. And I think that a lot of this offseason strategy has been similar to years past, that it's nothing that has been super, super massive in terms of these big blockbuster deals or these big free agent signings, but there weren't many to be had. Obviously, the Alex Tuch situation transpired the way that it did. But I think that also happened the way that a lot of us thought it would, that he was going to go to the free agent market. He was going to get a 8-year, or with a sign and trade, an 8-year, $10.5 million deal. And I would say a large percentage of the fan base, especially after that second round series, would not have been okay with that. I think that, yes, it's unfortunate and we'd love to have him be on the team still. But if you were to ask everybody, how would you want that to work out? I don't think anyone would have wanted to sign Alex Tuch to an 8-year, $10.5 million deal at the age of 30. So are they better in this current moment? No, they're not than they were at the end of that season. But I do believe that there's a chance with these guys developing, as we've seen in the past few years, and especially last year, that this team has the ability, if this is what the opening night roster is going to be as good or better late in the season. I think that there will be some struggles and there will be a bit of a learning curve, especially if they do skew as young as they are now. But this team is set up for the future, as we saw it finally come to fruition last year. And I am okay with this opening night lineup as it's currently. I think this is still a playoff team. I think it's a team that can grow and develop and get better throughout the season. And who knows what could happen at the trade deadline. And I honestly believe that they're probably not done, whether that be Patrick Kane or Connor Hellebuyck or who have you leading into the season. You don't know what's going to happen in late August, early September, mid-September. A lot of stuff can happen still. But I do like this team as it currently stands.
Yeah, and so do I. It's the thing that worries me is that I'm not going to see the words like we're making this mistakes of the past, because it's different GM, different regime. I mean, they flipped the staff and this regime completely upside down. Like, it's completely different from what it was to start last season. I mean, they brought in a guy with 20 plus years of experience in John Davidson, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. You know, you still have Mark Bergevin on the staff. I mean, we been on since they hired a guy that
Davidson, I don't think so.
No. The other guy.
Who's
the guy that nobody ever thought?
Lucic?
I don't think we've been on to talk about this.
I don't think so, yeah.
No, wow. Like legitimately so many changes have been made, and we'll talk about that too, because again, it's been a minute since we've all been on. But like, I just don't want to see us just depend on internal growth. Is Consta Hellenius have the ability to take a leap next year, forward next year in Austin? Yeah, absolutely. They could very well both be 20 goal scorers next year. I mean, it's very possible. Do I think it's fair to have that expectation of them both playing their first full years in the NHL? No. Do I think it's fair to ask those guys to fill in the roles of Alex Tuch? No. Do I think that they have that ability? Yes, I do. I just don't think it's fair, both as a fan and just to them and just in general, to ask them to fill those shoes at such a young age. Like Alex Tuch just doesn't leave 30 plus goals off your and however many points, you know, off your stat sheet next season. It's the ability on the penalty kill. It's the ability 5-on-5. He blocked shots. He played the front of the net very well. He's one of the best players in the league playing in front of the net. I don't know if I would consider him a power forward, but why not? There's so many roles and so many shoes that guy, wore. I mean, so many hats he wore. I do, however, think that the guy that, when you worry about those other roles that he did away from the puck, I do think that guy is already on the roster, and Josh Doan. I think he's very capable of doing those things. Do I think he will next season? No, but I think down the line he will. But I don't know. I can't just go into next season having this be the roster. Because, again, I think you go from – I don't think anybody has any delusions or illusions that we're going to go right ahead and win the division again next year. If we go into this season with this roster as it sits right now, I don't have any illusions of being a division where I do think we'll compete and maybe for a wild card spot for sure, or maybe even slightly above that. But this just it does worry me, Hurls.
Yeah, there's reason to be concerned, but I also think there's reason to trust the guys in the room that are way more familiar with the numbers than we are. Obviously, we see the stats as they have been on the score sheet in the past couple of seasons, but especially for the young guys, I think they have a general idea of what their projections are going to be at this point in their career, and I think that's why they didn't go up to the number that Alex Tuch wanted, because as Jarmo said, this is going to be an approach by committee to fill in Alex Tuch's production and role on this team. I think Josh Doan is obviously the number one candidate in terms of the way he plays the game and how much he grew even in his first season in Buffalo. But the combination, hopefully, of a healthy Yuri Kulik, Konsta Helenius, Noah Ostlund, and even Jack Quinn. I think Jack Quinn kind of showed at the end of last season, going into the playoffs, that he can produce at a higher level than I think even a lot of people expected him to. He needs to play a bit of a faster game. I think he needs to get stronger this summer, which he's hopefully doing. But he's still incredibly young, and he was a top 10 pick in the NHL. And scoring 50 points like he did last year, I think is a huge benchmark for him to eventually, hopefully, break out to that 60, 65 point benchmark that I think all of us hopefully expected from him as a top 10 pick in the NHL. So, yeah, it's not ideal at this current moment, but I do believe this team is talented enough. They're definitely young enough. They will continue to play with speed, and I think there's a chance that they could be as good or better than they were last year.
Yeah, I don't doubt all those things. I feel a lot more comfortable. Again, and just talk about the blue line too. Like, I like Olen Zellweger. I think he's a very fast defenseman. I think he has a ton of offensive upside. I mean, I don't know a ton about his defensive, awareness or how good he is in his own zone. He's still very young. I think, at his age, there's still things to be learned in the defensive zone. But I mean, he's an immaculate skater. He can carry the puck up ice. He has a good release. But is it fair to ask him or Crevier, who we got back in the Bowen Byram trade, who I couldn't believe, again, actually absolute highway robbery in the Bowen Byram trade. Again, have we even been live since that trade?
I think so. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure we were after the draft.
I want to say you might be right. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Anyways, is it fair to ask that guy to fill in those roles? I don't know. Like, it's just like
I think it's similar though. I think it's an approach by committee, and I think Zellweger's metrics and underlying numbers suggest that he could be a very capable Bowen Byram replacement, especially playing with Owen Power. He's a really good puck mover. He's a great skater. He's very fast. He has some defensive concerns, but the combination of that top line pair with Mattias Samuelsson and Rasmus Dahlin, potentially Power and Zellweger, and then if it's Crevier, maybe Timmins on the third pair, who knows what they're going to do with Logan Stanley. I think there's a lot of options that they could have on that third pair, which could still be a very, very good defensive unit. And for $12 million or whatever Bowen Byram signed for in Chicago, that was never going to happen in Buffalo. So I think we all can agree that the return that they got for that was the most accepted in the NHL community fleece job that I've ever seen.
No doubt.
I cannot believe that they got Daxon Rudolph, Crevier, and then eventually used that second round pick to trade for Owen Zellweger. So I'm excited. I think that that's going to be tough if they play on the same pair. Owen and Olin. That's
Owen. Sounds like a shirt to me.
Yeah, no,
it sounds like a shirt.
We've got a shirt on our hands. Yeah, I like the defense still. The goaltending, I guess, as we've spoken about, is to be determined. I don't think we've come on here since our good friend of the show, Devin Levi, is now in Edmonton.
I did for you.
It's a situation that I think was kind of the writing on the wall at this point, unfortunately. Yeah. Not too happy about it, but I am happy for him because I do believe that he's going to get a better shot to succeed at the NHL level moving forward in Edmonton than he would have gotten in Buffalo. And he's still young. He's still got a lot of time to develop. And I think it's an exciting move for him. I really do.
Yeah, and you know what? And I'm super pumped for Dev. It sucks because I even said it on Twitter too. Like, you spent 3 years developing this guy. Did you take the most traditional road to development? No, you didn't. But you still spent 3 years developing him. And then to sell him off with a 7th to get a 3rd round pick. At that point, I'm just thinking, like, just keep him. Let him compete for a spot in camp. Why not? And if, like, I almost don't care about losing him for nothing to waivers. Like, if that's the case, because is it really outweighing the options? An organization that has struggled, I want to say struggled this year, because we didn't struggle at the position this year, but like with still some unknowns with UPL. I mean, it's no secret they've been dangling him on the trade block this offseason, especially when it comes to Connor Hellebuyck. I didn't see the point in just essentially giving away for nothing. You can say, oh, it's a 3rd round pick. Yeah, great. But, like, I don't know. I'd rather be as deep at that position as possible. And again, I'm super pumped for him. I know for a fact that he's pumped. I had a chance to speak to him, after the trade was announced. I mentioned how pumped I was for him. I know he's extremely excited to get an opportunity in Edmonton. Not every day you get to go play with Connor McDavid, take shots from Connor McDavid at practice. And Leon Draisaitl, what?
At least for a year.
At least for a year. Yeah, wink, wink. But it stinks as a fan of his because I know both you and me are high on him. I do know for a fact from speaking, I mean, I won't say their name, but speaking to someone very close to him, that he never requested a trade out of Buffalo. I mean, I can't imagine he was happy when they brought in Colton Ellis, who would be. You probably feel like that was your spot. This, a spot that you've been developing to take, that 3rd goalie position, or at least the backup position. So listen, I mean, it's a different GM. He had a different outlook on the situation. Maybe I think it's a mistake, but at the end of the day, I'm super happy for him. And, I'm an Edmonton fan now from when I pick a West Coast team, because I wish nothing but the best for the kid. So, but continue your thoughts before we kind of went into that.
No, it's just, it's obviously they must be pretty high on Colton Ellis, I would have to imagine, and even the goaltenders in the system. I think Scott Ratzlaff is a guy that some people are pretty high on. There is that Tobias Leinonen, who I know is a bigger guy who's developed at least pretty well in the Finnish and the Swedish leagues. They've got some guys still, but I agree. I like his upside. We can go through the nuances of it. His numbers weren't as good this past season in Rochester as they were the season before, but I don't necessarily think it was enough of a drop-off that would be enough to make him a trade candidate. But NHL GMs and different regimes operate in different ways. And, he was a product of the Kevin Adams trade cycle, moving everybody out for Sam Reinhart like he did. And it's unfortunate it ended the way that it did. But it is what it is. I still, again, feel pretty good about the goaltending situation. I think that if we're going to go into the season with that 3-goalie rotation, people forget, it may not have been perfect in the playoffs, but it was good enough to get them to overtime in Game 7 of the second round against the Canadiens.
Correct.
And I think that The combination of those three guys, I don't think they'll do it in the exact same way that they did last year, but that is a top 15, maybe even top 10 unit when they're at their best, those three guys. And I am at least comfortable with it going in. Let's say they do pull off the Hail Mary for Connor Hellebuyck and it makes sense for the team and the player. That would obviously be, I think, ideal, getting in a guy who is in the prime of his career that could help the Sabres win the cup this year and even the next 3 years probably. Would be amazing. It would be really, really cool, but it's got to make sense. You can't overpay for a 33-year-old goalie that has had some concerns in playoff hockey in the NHL. Yes, he showed in the Olympics that he can play on the big stage, but that's a different game. That's a different type of situation with an all-star team in front of him. He still has to prove with an NHL roster in the NHL playoffs that he is the goalie that we all know he can be. But if Connor Hellebuyck gets traded to the Sabres, I will absolutely celebrate it because he's still, in my opinion, a top 5 goalie in the league.
Yeah, I mean, somebody put up a graphic too, and actually somebody made a really good comment in the chat here. I'll find it real quick. Let's see where it is here. Kane is totally waiting on Winnipeg and Hellebuyck. I mean, that's a very good possibility. I mean, I imagine there's some connections there with USA Hockey. Like, I could totally see that being a thing, no doubt.
If Chicago and Buffalo are the two places he's deciding between, reportedly, Buffalo clearly has a better chance to compete this upcoming season, especially with Bedard out potentially until December. So if he goes back to Chicago, I get it in the sense of the history and him wanting to finish out his career in the same place that he did. Actually, incredibly similar to – actually, not as much, because if LeBron were to go to Cleveland, I think Cleveland could win the Eastern Conference, right? But
yeah, 100%.
If Patrick Kane goes to Chicago, they're not winning the West. These are in two entirely different situations. So I don't get that portion of it, that he would need Connor Hellebuyck to be traded to the Sabres for him to be finally convinced to come home to Buffalo. Clearly, Buffalo is the better team, and they have a better chance to compete this year and the next 3 years than, maybe not the next 3 years, but at least the next 2 years than the Chicago Blackhawks do. So I don't necessarily totally think that's the reason he's waiting.
Yeah, I mean, very much could be. I know they spoke. There was I'm not sure if it's a Chicago radio station that they spoke to Kyle Davidson, and I mean, they are very much like in the running. I mean, he didn't say it outright, but like, yeah, we're gonna respect his process. He trains here in the off season. He knows the door is always open for him here, and I mean, with all that cap space, I mean, I can't imagine they have to have a ton of cap space, right?
For sure. I mean, well, maybe not a ton, but like probably are able to pay more than the Sabres would. I just think that the Sabres are a much better situation.
No doubt.
The top power play unit, and maybe he would be in Chicago, but without Bedard, it's not the most attractive situation. It's really not. And
I don't know how much of the season he's supposed to miss, but
absolutely. Like, maybe Chicago could pull off a miracle and make the playoffs, but I don't necessarily see that happening. And if he was added to the Sabres forward unit, and hopefully Constant Helenius was still on that, who knows in what role, but if they were both on the team, I think this team is much better off.
No doubt. And like, I know the thing with Patrick Kane, the narrative on like social media, and it's like, because I made a comment like, what else would just Patrick Kane need to want to come to Buffalo? What, like, do we need to get a time machine and bring back prime Dominik Hasek? Do we need to trade for Connor McDavid? This, that, or the other. And like somebody comments like, oh, well, yeah, speaking of time machine, I'd be actually interested in Kane if it was like 5 or 6 years ago. Well, yeah, no shit. But he still would have been like third on our team in scoring last season with 57 points. Like,
yeah, I mean,
how many of those points were on the power play? Like,
he's been an elite offensive contributor his entire career, and it's no secret that he doesn't play much defense. So whether this is
every team has a guy like that.
Yeah, whether this is 2012, 2017, 2021, where he had 120 points, he's basically been the same player his whole career. Obviously, he had a lot more foot speed and a lot more open ice speed earlier in his career. That obviously makes sense given his age. but he still has his hands. He still has his vision. He still has his ability to create and finish when he needs to. Obviously, the goals were a little bit down last year, but I do think in a better situation than he was in Detroit, I do think it's going to be a little bit better with the Sabres, especially in the power play. So, yeah, in the right situation, the right contract, I think it'd be a good idea, but to each his or own opinion.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Stephen Well here, or Wheel, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I don't understand the problem with Patrick Kane and why he wanted to come here years ago, regardless of legal problem, chance to win a cup in his hometown. He should pay the Sabres to play. He should pay the Sabres to play with them this year. Like, essentially, I think he should want to play here so bad that he should pay the Sabres so he could play there. Like, I mean, regardless, yeah, like, this is like your last chance, right? I know, like, the guy has the issues when he was really young. We won't get into that, the drinking, the allegations, and all that. Not to downplay it, but I mean, we're not going to. But this is your last opportunity. I know I've heard from a lot of people that, you know, have played with him, that are friends with him, that, like, he would never want to come here, never want to come here. I never really got an explanation as to why, if it was because of maybe the way the things that happened when he used to come home in the off season, or if maybe it's the state of the team. It could have been a mix of both. But, like, this is a playoff team. You would make this team better. This isn't a Jeff Skinner situation. It's not. This is nothing close to a Jeff Skinner situation. If he plays 82 games next season, you're getting 60 points from him. Like, I feel very confident in saying that. And I just, your last hurrah, probably your last contract. I mean, we all see the friggin' Dondros hockey card with him and his dad on the boards. You know, like, this is it, man. This is your chance. I mean, I feel like everything is aligned for this to happen for you. You will be in a, maybe not a top 6 role, but you'll definitely be on the power play. You'll be given your opportunities. I mean, you're essentially sliding into the Jack Quinn spot. I mean, because I think if Kane comes here, Jack Quinn's gone, right? I don't understand what more he would want. Does the extra $1 million a season really mean that much to you? And a guy who, you know, is going to retire at 41 years old and never going to have to work another day in his life. A guy who's going to be a staple in USA hockey. He's going to work in hockey after this, no doubt. So I guess I'm lost a little bit on what more you need to want to come here. And if he signs with Chicago, I mean, done with it, man. Just done. I'm done. Like, I'm done. I'm not going to say you never were truly a Sabres fan. It really never was your dream to play here as a kid, because you literally have the golden opportunity to do here, to lead this team to a Stanley Cup, not lead, but, you know, be a part of that, you know, to bring nothing against the Bandits either. This is not a slight against the Bandits, but to really bring this city, its first major championship. Because, again, not a slight against the Bandits, but if the Sabres won a Stanley Cup, I mean, it'd be rioting in downtown Buffalo. Rioting.
Yeah.
You same thing with the Bills.
No,
be a part of that. You know, I don't understand what more you need to want to be a part of that.
I don't think it's the money. I
hope not.
He's made enough money in his career. I think at this point he is looking at the situation of both teams, where he'll fit, whether that's the second or third line, first or second power play unit. I think clearly would be the first on both teams. He probably wants to be on the second line. He probably wants to play with a guy like Josh Doan. He probably wants to be in a position that he can produce as many points as he possibly can. So I'm sure his team, both sides, both management rooms are pitching what that's going to look like for him. And at this point in his career, that's similar to LeBron, everyone's going to make that pitch, and they're going to do as much as they possibly can to make it the best situation possible. $3 million, $4 million, $5 million, whatever it is, I don't think Patrick Kane cares about that. I think that's the reason he's as hard as it is, because, like, the Sabres forward lineup may change in the next few weeks, theoretically, with a Connor Hellebuyck trade, or let's say they trade for a top 6 forward. A lot of those things determine what Pat Kane is going to do, and I think that's the reason he's waiting.
Yeah, I tend to agree, man. getting into the Hellebuyck stuff a little bit further because we have some questions here about Hellebuyck. I do want to give a shout out actually to Jay Biggs here. I actually met him today at my gym. He approached me, he kind of like said it out loud a little bit because I don't know if you're sure if it was me or not. He goes, Duane? I kind of like did one of these and he was there. I was like, yeah, I watched the pod and like, thanks for saying hi today, Jay. And, appreciate the support, appreciate you watching and your continued support and look forward to this coming season. And hope you got a good workout in today, bud. But good question here. Just thought experiment my buddy and I ran through. At what point do the Sabres get worse with a trade for Connor Hellebuyck? Like, what do we have to give up to truly be worse in that situation?
I would say if Konsta, Helenius, and Noah Ostlund were involved.
Either or, right?
If one of those two guys are involved in the trade, I think that would be not a loss because you're getting theoretically a top 5 goalie. But in the next few years and over the course of what their development would be, and let's say they go to Winnipeg and they turn out to be the players that we all think that they're going to be, for a short-term return of Hellebuyck, unless he helps the Sabres win the Stanley Cup. I think a lot of this is obviously based upon results. Everything in sports is based upon the results. But on its face, if a trade is made, let's say that's UPL, Konsta Helenius, and a first-round pick for Connor Hellebuyck, I think that makes the Sabres worse this season. That's just me.
I agree with that 100%. Like, I think if not even just not both, just either of those guys are a part of that trade, I think it hurts your roster, no doubt. I think Ostlund, he reminds me of Danny Briere a little bit, like his playmaking ability, his skating. I love his game, and I think he's like he's a top 6 guy, like easily.
And like we had that debate about Robert Thomas, but Robert Thomas is way more valuable than Connor Hellebuyck at this point in his career. So
yeah,
those are two different discussions. We had the debate about Jason Robertson. If you bring in a guy like that who is in his mid-20s, mid to late 20s, and is a point per game player and can be on your top line in comparison to a guy not at the end of his career, but getting into the twilight of his career, as we all know, at 33, 34 years old, at the position of goalie, obviously things are a little bit more non-linear than a forward or defenseman, but his game is inevitably going to fall off with the physical toll that his body has taken over the years. He's still very good. We obviously saw it in the Olympics with Team USA, especially in that final against Canada. He can play at an elite level still, but the main primary concern is he's never done that in the playoffs at a large, consistent scale, and that is why you trade for Connor Hellebuyck to be very good. I mean, he'd probably play 50 to 55 games in the regular season, but you trade for him to help get you over the hump in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And if he can't do that, then the trade is a failure. Point blank period.
100%. And like, listen, I've said it on Twitter. I've said it here. Like, yes, he is debatably had the greatest performance from a goalie in USA hockey history. I mean, I would say Jim Craig probably would like a word. Different eras, it's hard to compare. And then Ryan Miller winning MVP of the tournament, which with a lesser USA team. I think what year was that in? That was in
2010.
2010, yes. So like, yeah, you can go back and have that debate. But at the end of the day, the Olympics cannot hold a candle to the NHL playoffs. You could argue, I mean, beating the Swiss, beating Latvia, beating Germany, like with that team in front of him, that's nothing. Nothing. I'll give him the game against Sweden, and obviously Canada. But like, you could argue the first round is a tougher road, a tougher path than to get to the gold medal game.
I mean, people point to the gold medal game, but that's one game. That is literally one game, and I think we all know that a goalie can stand on his head for one game, and it was the most important game. And
no doubt,
seminal moment in USA hockey history and even sports history. But over the course of 16 games in the NHL playoffs, it's entirely different. And mentally, emotionally, physically, that is a completely different ballgame. And he would need the support from the Sabres forwards and defensive units to play at that level. He's not going to play at that level every game, but to be
No.
that guy that we all know him to be, that won the Hart Trophy 2 to 3 years ago in Winnipeg. I think he's very good. He's obviously very big. He's incredible positionally. He uses his size.
Uses his size perfectly.
And even that breakaway against McDavid in the gold medal game where he kind of just like sealed the bottom of the ice and didn't really do much. Not many goalies can do that, but he's able to with how big he is, and he's able to cover the net. So I think he has the chance for longevity into his mid to late 30s, but it is a gamble, and it's a massive gamble if you give up one of your top prospects. And that includes Jackson Rudolph too. They got that return for Bo Byram for the number 4 overall pick for the opportunity to draft a guy like that. And if they were to include him or Konsta Helenius or Noah Ostlund in any trade, let alone for Connor Hellebuyck, I would be concerned.
100%, man. And you want to know what, man? Like, I don't know if you can't get that across the finish line. I mean, all indicators.
They asked for Zach Benson. Did they not ask for Zach Benson?
Yes, they did ask for Zach Benson.
Yeah,
but that
so
was
that's
at the draft. That was at the draft.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if that's their standard, it's probably not going to get much lower than that.
Yeah. But as this drags out, like, will that ask come down? I guess it depends on where the Jets see themselves going into next season. Do they see themselves as a contender? I mean, you still, was it Scheifele? Was it Scheifele had a 100-point season this year? Yeah. Like, they still have Kyle O'Connor, correct? Like, they have. Mm-hmm. It's a good there's talent on that hockey team.
I personally,
do they see themselves as a playoff team with Connor Hellebuyck next year with the current state of the roster? If not, then maybe you do need to come down on your price a little bit.
And if they do, they would probably potentially want a guy like Josh Norris, probably a guy like Jack Quinn, maybe UPL, maybe Colton Ellis, who knows? I personally have a soft spot coming on the way back. I think a guy like Alex Iafallo, Buffalo native, played for West Seneca growing up. I think him coming back home to Buffalo in that type of trade could help this team as well if you want to get something back on the other side. I think there's ways to do it. It's obviously not going to be a Scheifele or Kyle Connor, but I do believe that there is a way to make this work for both sides, because clearly I think both franchises are in different trajectories and different positions at this moment.
Yeah.
Even I said it earlier, 50 to 55 games I think would be great. We saw what Alex Lyon could do. We saw what Colton Ellis, especially if they still do that three goalie rotation. I would even love to keep him fresh for the playoffs, even closer to 45. I think that would be ideal for a guy at his age to not overwork him and have him at his best and most fresh going into the playoffs.
No doubt. Like, he's always been overplayed. We have a good question here. A couple of questions here from Jay. Did we get confirmation or word that the Jets went on UPL's no trade list? Because that modified no trade did kick in on July 1st. I'd have to imagine they're on it, right? Like, probably doesn't want to go to Winnipeg.
I mean, Winnipeg's like the Finland of Canada, so I can't imagine it's like that much different in terms of what he's used to and where he grew up. Like, Winnipeg, I don't know when he made the trade list, maybe when he signed the contract, but they were a contender at that point.
I think they asked him upon requesting, they have to ask him for his list. I think that's how it works, right?
So he could have made this list this summer, is what you're saying.
I think the way it goes is if you plan on trading a player who has a no trade or a modified no trade, like a modified no trade, you ask them for their list at that time. Like, what's your list here?
So, like,
I think that's how it goes.
So they have a notes app that they can change it at any moment.
Probably, yeah. I don't quote me, but the way it's been presented in the past, like in other situations, like the Parayko thing, like the Jet. I mean, we didn't know we were on his no trade list. The Blues didn't know who was on his no trade, or was it? Did he have a note? Like, I mean, was he willing to waive it, or did he hit? No, he had a full no waive, right?
Yeah, then he was.
He was a full no waive. Okay. Yeah. So you have to ask him. I think in the past, from what I've heard, and maybe somebody in the peanut gallery can correct us. Like, I think like at that moment he presents his list. But I know you compared it to Finland, but like Winnipeg is fucking cold, man. It's really, really, really cold there. They're not coming off. I mean, you got UPL coming off. Arguably, when he got the contract, he played really well too. But his best season of his pro career so far. Do you really want to uproot everything to go to Winnipeg? Probably not. I would imagine Winnipeg, just like we've been in the past, is on a lot of teams modified or no trade lists, right? Like I would have to think. But I don't know. Maybe you find a way to do a three-team trade in that situation. I saw. I think it was Sneaky Joe put out the one where if you saw that today, where Jet Greaves was involved. By the way, like if you can't get Connor Hellebuyck and you want an upgrade in goal, I love Jet Greaves. By the way, I'm not sure how you feel. Love that kid.
Right.
I think he's gonna be so good.
Yeah, I saw his arbitration number was 7.5 and the team's was 2.5.
I think he'll come around the UPL number of like 4.75.
Sure.
Personally.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, got to be creative, right? I think this summer has been interesting in the sense that we've seen a couple offer sheets. We've seen things that we haven't necessarily seen in off seasons past. So if you really want to get it done, you want to get over the line, and you need another team involved, whether that's for cap purposes or player purposes or what have you, I think Jarmo is not a guy that would say no to that. I really don't. And that's why I think he's probably aggressively pursuing both of these situations. So we'll see what happens. But as you said at the beginning of this episode, nothing's happened yet. So therefore, that's all speculation at this point. And we wait, and I think we can, look at the roster for what it is as it currently stands up until something does happen, because otherwise we're just going to drive ourselves crazy.
So Jay here says, so it looks like he has to submit it to the team on the date agreed and can't revise it unless it is specified in his contract that he can. So we don't know the verbiage of the contract, obviously. So, but yeah, I would love to see if they can get a Connor Hellebuyck trade across the finish line. I think minus giving up guys like Hellenius and Austin that deal, it instantly makes you a Stanley Cup contender. Hopefully, if he can get the demons off his back of, not being able to perform in the playoffs. Another thing, too, I meant to say it earlier, too. The Olympics, that's at the halfway point of the season. He hasn't played 60 games yet at that point. So you're a little fresher in that situation. Plus, again, it helps that you have the greatest team ever assembled in USA Hockey in front of you. But yeah, I think that would make you an instant contender as long as he can live up to the expectation of performing, in the playoffs. But if he can't get that done, I love the idea if Columbus can't figure something out with Jet Greaves, maybe you do something there. We threw out a mock trade idea about the Detroit situation with with Larkin potentially on his way out, even though Yzerman is no longer the GM. He took on a different role with the organization. They kind of quietly, I think, kind of ushered him somewhere else in the organization to get a new GM in there, because the Red Wings can't fire Steve Yzerman. It's like the Avalanche firing Joe Sakic. But do you see a situation where if that doesn't work out, maybe you call whomever is filling that role for Detroit and seeing what it would take to get a John Gibson and maybe even an Alex DeBrincat, both guys with 1 year left on their deals. And, Detroit obviously doesn't hold a ton of leverage. I mean, if you're losing Dylan Larkin, you're absolutely rebuilding in that situation. You're a team in the midst of a rebuild. And I would think that those two guys would probably get sold off. I mean, is that an option? I don't know your thoughts on that, Hurls, but I would love the idea of the Cat in Buffalo. I think that would even further the ability to kick back Kane to come to Buffalo too.
Yeah, definitely specifically that. But I think Jarmo should explore any and all options, because this team is clearly built to win at this current moment, which a year ago today, we probably wouldn't have been able to say that. I think people were very down, even more down than some people are now, which is crazy to me after a 109-point season, winning the division and going to Game 7 of the second round of the playoffs. I think there's nothing that should, aside from obviously losing Byram and Tuck, I think this team is still built to win, and I think they should explore any and all options, especially in the top 6 forward category. It's not necessarily a dime a dozen around the league, especially centers. But if they are able to do something that makes sense, whether that's in conference, out of conference, whatever, I think Jarmo's going to explore that because we've seen him be aggressive in the past, and he's proven throughout his tenure in the NHL that he's not afraid to make moves. So I do think he will explore this, but up until this point, like you said, it's just going to be mock trades. It's going to be us speculating, and nothing may happen for a month or so, but I do believe something will happen.
Yeah, this was the trade online too. Buffalo gets Connor Hellebuyck, Luke Tuck. Winnipeg gets Jet Greaves, McLeod, Radim Merca. I think that's a huge overpay, but I don't know the situation around Luke Tuck and what type of prospect he is, but I think that's a massive overpay from Buffalo. But that's just me. I think it's better. I mean, they already traded Merca once, so I guess whatever. And then Columbus gets UPL.
Seems like a lot.
Yeah,
Especially if you're including Merca and a 27 first. Yeah, it seems like a lot to me. Who knows where that first will be? Maybe that's the end of the first round. Either way, it's a first round pick and one of your top 4 prospects. So I don't love it. We're not talking Robert Thomas here. We're talking Connor Hellebuyck, who, yes, great goalie, but 33 years old in the twilight of his career.
He might have 2 to 3 like prime years left. I mean, that's realistic. Maybe more. You know, we've seen good goalies, you know, Hall of Fame goalies play great late into their career. Who knows? Look at Bobrovsky again. He had Florida in front of him though. Hasek played great late into his career. Other goalies have too. Berger, you know, the list goes on. Those are all Hall of Famers though. But obviously, so will Hellebuyck be. You know, he's already has the numbers to back it up. From Gargalant, I believe at the time your no trade clause kicks in, the player has to provide his list right then and there. So on July 1st, Norris and Upel both wrote down Winnipeg probably repeatedly.
Yeah, I don't know how it works, but if they did have the ability, maybe they did.
Yeah. So, is Gibson an upgrade?
Hard to say. I don't think
be.
so. I look at John Gibson. I look at John Gibson at this point in his career.
He didn't have a bad season last year. I'm not an analytics guy.
Not at all, but
I was looking at all the. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, just like as it stands, though, like I don't think he's maybe a slight upgrade, but I don't think he's a huge upgrade at all.
I think it depends on who do you see. When it comes to John Gibson, it's who do you really see as the future goalie of your team? Is it UPL or is it Colton Ellis? If it's Colton Ellis, then yeah, I think you make that deal because I think he is an upgrade over UPL. I think that John Gibson had one of the worst defensive teams in the league in front of him last year. All the underlying numbers say that. Again, I'm not an analytics guy, but like before I even like thought about putting out that mock trade, I looked into it and like actually the underlying, like the expected goals against or whatever it was, he put up better underlying numbers than both UPL and Hellebuyck last year. Obviously, he's not a better goalie than Connor Hellebuyck, but I think with the right team defensively in front of him, I think he's an upgrade. But I think you're making that deal more for DeBrincat. Even if you're getting the same goalie back, you're making that goal for you're that deal for a near 4-time 40 goal scorer in Alex DeBrincat, who's entering his prime right now at 28 years old.
I look at Gibson in the way that I do UPL, that his high level is really good, but the consistency hasn't always been there at the NHL level.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm not necessarily sure that makes a huge impact, unless you're obviously bringing DeBrincat.
That's the point, though. You're still getting potentially the same guy back, but you're also getting a star goal scorer to fill it. Immediately takes away, in terms of the production side of losing Alex Tuck, that takes care of the whole thing. He's not going to fill the other roles of Alex Tuck, but he's going to absolutely fill the net with pucks on the power play as well. And potentially get you Patrick Kane to come along with it. And once he sees that guy's coming to Buffalo. Stepping away from that, other news to talk about. Obviously, the Sabres hired John Davidson into Jarmo's former role of senior advisor. I love that. I know people will speculate like, well, he ruined the Columbus Blue Jackets. I wouldn't say that. I mean, like I'm sorry, was it St. Louis? No, he was with St. Louis for a while. No, he was just with Columbus, right?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he also was the reason why Columbus had some of their best years since they've come into the league. He's been in the league for 20 years. The guy has seen just about everything. I like that. And it's not like he's going to be the guy on the phone making calls, making trades, or on draft day making the picks. He's just giving his opinion in certain situations, much like Jarmo was allegedly when they hired him. He's not here to be a replacement for Jarmo. He's not here to to put pressure on Jarmo. Like, that's a friend of Jarmo who he trusts to be his senior advisor. Your thoughts on the Sabres hiring Milan Lucic to be a scout?
Listen, like at its core, it pissed a lot of people off. I think that I had a different impression of the legal situation with his ex-wife before I read into everything. Obviously, nobody knows, but those two what happened in the room, but the charges were dropped. So from a legal perspective, on its face, he is an innocent man. The Sabres made sure to say that they did their due diligence, and I think Jarmo probably has a relationship with him. And at the end of the day, from a big 30,000 foot view, he's a scout. There's a lot of scouts in the Sabres organization. He theoretically could make a big impact. Maybe he obviously knows the game really well, was in the NHL for a long time, knows a lot of people, especially up in Canada. Maybe he'll make an impact there. But
Yeah.
I think Milan Lucic is going to help the Sabres win or contribute to the Sabres losing the Stanley Cup. So, yeah, it was kind of funny and it was shocking when it happened. But I think enough time has passed, especially since the Ryan Miller thing, that yeah, you can be upset about it at first, but at the end of the day, I've basically already forgotten about it. So I don't really care.
Yeah. Again, not too sure. I mean, reading into to the allegations with his now ex-wife, I guess there was the 911 call became inadmissible during the whole process, when it came to taking him to court. I think I read into that. And then the other part of it was she then decided not to press charges for who knows what reason. I don't know. I personally don't like him. I think he's a scumbag. Could he help this team? Yes, I agree with you. Very much could. Am I going to write letters to KeyBank Center to get him removed? Am I going to change my handle on my Twitter profile to fire Milan Lucic? No. If he can quietly make this team better, I'm all for it. But I'm not happy that the Sabres may have looked past what that guy did away from the ice when he had clear, repeated history of alcohol issues. And again, he could be a completely different person right now. It just doesn't take, when it comes to domestic abuse, there's a line, and I'm on one side of it, and I won't tiptoe across the other side of it. Just leave it at that. So, what else has been going on with the Sabres since we last, talked? I mean, it really just hasn't been much. We obviously they took Daxon Rudolph with 4th overall. I actually agreed with that decision just because if you couldn't get the value because I have in no way, shape, or form do you trade 4th overall for a 33-year-old goalie. 100% on that page. Don't do that. You never do that. The only way you'd ever do that is if you're getting a 33-year-old Dominik Hasek in his prime, and even then, I find that tough to do. But he's a big defenseman. He's going to go play for one of the best coaches in the nation in Carlisle and Denver. He's going to play there a year, and he already has a plan. He plans on going pro after 1 year at Denver. So I like it. I like the pick. I think he had the most upside. I know there were better options available. I'm not going to pretend to be a draft analyst, but judging from what I've seen about him, from an analyst standpoint, from guys like Chris Peters, who's been on this show before, who's pretty high on him, and the scouting staff, Jerry Fortin was very high on him. Mark Bergevin sounded pretty high on him. Those guys know a hell of a lot more than I do, so I'm happy they made the pick.
Yeah, I am too. He was projected in a lot of places anywhere from 4 to 7. And if they liked his skill set and the way that he plays the game, comparably to Chase Reed or even a forward that they thought that potentially could impact the team moving forward, I think they made the pick that they thought was best for the team. So he might not make the roster for 2 to 3 years, but if he develops, especially at the University of Denver, in the way that he'll probably potentially be in the Zeev Buium role on the power play, maybe later in the season, who knows? If he fits in super well really early, I think that's the best possible place for him, and he's going to play a high level of hockey all season long in Denver. I'm excited to hopefully watch some of those games. College hockey is so entertaining, and especially at that level. And we've seen a lot of really, really good players come out of that program. And I think we can confidently say that they'll be in the NCAA tournament and potentially even the Frozen Four. So I think that'll be really cool for him. And just generally, the schedule came out. I think we could do another time, maybe our predictions, but I think it looks like a schedule, right? I'm personally excited. The West Coast swing is a little bit earlier this year. The Sabres are playing in LA on a matinee game Saturday on Halloween, which is really cool. They play in Anaheim and San Jose in the days leading up to that. I'm going to try to potentially come back for the home opener because the Bills game is the next day. That could be a nice little trip to figure out in early October. And then Thanksgiving Eve is great, always one of the best games of the year, especially in the dark days. But Thanksgiving Eve, home game, I forget who it's against. Then Thanksgiving, home primetime game, Bills Chiefs, and then the Sabres also play at home on Black Friday. Those 3 days in a row could potentially be the drunkest in the history of Buffalo.
Yeah, man. For sure.
I am hopefully going to be home for that, so that'll be great. But yeah, I
think
the
Beer Sabres make their way into the Bills' new stadium this year?
I don't know if they'll be allowed, but I hope so.
That'd be great. I mean, the same owner, so why not? Fuck, sell them at the Bills game. One Buffalo, right? If we're gonna bring back one Buffalo, might as well sell them at the Bills game. You probably sell 50,000 of them.
What do they call the stripe on the Bills logo? Maybe it's just the stripe, but if they started doing something like that, like a beer stripe or a beer like something like the equivalent for the Bills of the beer saber, I feel like they could come up with something.
I'm sure they will. After they saw the success of the beer saber, I mean, how do you not?
Yeah, I don't know what they'll be able to do, but yeah, I think there's an opportunity there for sure. But schedule looks good. I think this team's going to be really good. I would not be surprised if they get 100 points again. And what this roster is right now is, I'm going to say, very likely not what it's going to be on October 1st, whenever the first game is. So I think everyone can remain patient, remain calm, nobody panic. We're going to be all right. Enjoy your summer.
Yeah, and like I said, it could happen on a Wednesday. It could happen tomorrow on Wednesday. We get the big news. You never know when it's going to happen. That's the way the off season works. And who knows? We could find out that Patrick Kane is a Buffalo Sabre tomorrow. Kane wants a guaranteed role. He will continue. He'll come here after we trade Quinn. If we do, simple as that. Also, by the way, we shouldn't do that for just Kane. Quinn is very valuable. We got 2 questions. Your thoughts on the Krebs deal? Well, actually, there's thoughts on a couple deals. Beck Malenstein's deal, which we haven't talked about, which I'm very happy with. I think he earned every penny of that contract, and I have no problem that guy signing for 6 years. It was 6 years, right? Did he sign a 6-year deal?
Yeah.
I have no problem paying him what they're paying him for 6 years, because he's going to give 1,000% every time he's on the ice. He doesn't miss games. And, there is some offensive upside there. You need guys to fill the penalty kill role. Now with Tuck gone, he's a good penalty killer. The guy will block a shot with his face. Those guys are invaluable, or whatever the word is, in this league. And they're not a dime a dozen. I know a lot of us probably need to sign that Beck Malenstein apology for him from when we initially traded him for a 2nd-round pick, especially with like the Lane Hudson. Was it Lane Hudson was taken there, or Cole Hudson was taken like a pick after? But at the end of the day, I think he's available. I'm happy with it. The Krebs deal, that's the way of the cap. Cap's going up. I think he earned the term he got. I think a big part of him getting that deal is how respected he is on that team. I think that he's going to fill a bigger role next season. I'm not saying he's going to be a top 6 guy, but he had the best season of his career this year, and hopefully he's still very young. It seems like he's been here forever, Hurls. He's still so young, and there's still plenty of upside there with him.
Yeah, I think both guys really well liked in the room. Obviously, have been great in their roles. I was at least slightly surprised how much Beck got, but I agree with you in the sense that whether if it's $1 million more than you thought or a couple years more than you thought, I think he's going to play the same way for a long time. So you're kind of grasping at straws there if you're that upset about it. I think it's a really good deal for him, and he earned it. But I kind of was surprised at how long and how much it was. And with Krebs, yeah, I'm glad they got it done before arbitration. I think that he, especially in the empty net realm, he showed some
merchant
prowess at the end of the season, and he is very good as a fourth or third line center. You can put him on the wing. You can do a variety of different things, but I'm happy that Peyton Krebs is gonna remain a Buffalo Sabre. So both guys, I'm happy they got done.
And Zach Benson signed a contract that I think in a few years from now is going to be one of the best contracts in all hockey.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, similar to Tage, similar to Matthias Samuelsson. I said that exact day to a couple of my friends that Tuck was probably going to get a sign and trade 8 years times 10 and a half somewhere else, and that they were going to announce the Zach Benson contract later that day as a little like, hey, we still got this guy and we have the ability to do that now. And that's exactly what they did. So that wasn't surprising. And I'm really, really happy. Obviously, 7 times 7 for a guy like that is really, really good business. And yeah, he is going to be a nuisance and a really, really good player for years to come.
Yep. And I was actually looking at some highlights today of that kid they took at 20th overall, Ilya Morozov. I guess he's been in the U.S. for a while. He speaks pretty good English from what I understand. Going to Miami University next season. That kid might be a steal at 20. And shout out to one of the new Twitter sensations, Andrew Heaters, on predicting that was going to happen. So shout out to you, bud. You're a fella for the fellas. But yeah, I watched some highlights of him, and I gotta tell you, man. I mean, for a team that doesn't, take flyers on many Russians, I'm pretty excited about him. He looks really good.
Yeah, haven't seen much aside from draft day, but it seems like he's a really good prospect. And yeah, Miami of Ohio is another really good program, so I think he's going to get a big opportunity to contribute.
Very good hockey school.
Yeah, he's going to get a big opportunity to contribute, and he's got time to develop. There's no rush to get him to either Rochester or the NHL, but first round top 20 pick, he's definitely going to get his opportunities. So excited for him as well.
Yeah, from Alex Fuck, Duane, record prediction this season. Record prediction this season. We're probably gonna do a whole show on that, so we won't bother with that now. I do want to give a shout out to our sponsors, to Fatty Beer Company and Impulse Physical Therapy, Western New York. It's been a minute since I've done this. I hope I can still Fatty Beer. Shout out to Fatty Beer, Western New York's premier market and tap room with over 300 beers to choose from at 7 different Western York locations. If you need a beer, get on over to Fatty Beer. Let them know that 2 Goalies, 1 Mike sent you. They have their concert series going on right now. So many fun things to do at any of your Fatty Beer locations. We had a blast over their during their playoff run at the Lancaster location, and the concert series at the Lancaster location at the Lancaster location is alive and kicking. So make sure you check them out. And of course, as always, Impulse Physical Therapy, Western New York. Oh, nope, that's the wrong one. Whoopsie daisy. Hey, Western New York, it's time to ditch the physical therapy clinics that treat you like you are just another number and step into a world where you are at the center of your care. Impulse is owned by Buffalo's only board-certified sports physical therapist. They use one-on-one science-backed technology like 3D motion analysts and force plates to help you exceed your goals and become the healthiest, strongest version of yourself. So come experience the Impulse difference today and mention this for a discounted $77 assessment visit. If you're a young hockey player who watches this show, I know we have some out there. They do fitness testing that you would experience during a combine, like the NHL combine, and they do everything except for the bike test. I forget what it's called. I can't remember what that bike test is called, but that's the only thing I think that they don't do. But make sure you give them a shout out. They're located at 5087 Broadway, Suite 100 in Depew, New York, right next to Catalyst Fitness near D&L Plaza. One last thing I want to get into before we get out of here, Hurls, like like you said, the dog days of summer, the off season. Sometimes it's like kind of tough to find stuff to talk about and whatnot. I was again where I met Jay yesterday at the gym, and I was talking to a kid named Derek Black. He, he had his leg was in like a full like like you something you would have on. I wore one. I forget what it's called. It's not a boot, but it's like it kind of goes from like your thigh down to your ankle, like when you've torn your ACL or had a serious leg injury, like I did. I wore something similar to that, and I asked him what happened to his leg. He mentioned it was a football injury, but also he's also missing one of his arms. And I was like, "Oh, you happened playing football?" He goes, "Yeah, it's crazy." I was like, "So we get to talking about sports," and he mentioned a couple things, and I'm gonna pull up some pictures here too of him because I think this is a great story and it's worth our time. And yeah, let me see here. I just gotta pull our overlay off here. Here we go, just so we can pull it in. He plays high school football for NT. He just celebrated his senior year this year. He also plays high school lacrosse. But the one thing that got me is like we gotta talk about this kid is he's a fucking goalie. 3 sports athlete, and he's a fucking goalie with one arm. He has a specially made blocker that he can slip his hand into, so he can be able to hold his stick and hold on to his stick. And last year in his senior year, he didn't have that bad of a year. He had an 880 save percentage with North Tonawanda High School, with North Tonawanda Lumberjacks. I think it's the Lumberjacks. I could be wrong, but super nice kid. And on top of everything else, he was actually nominated. Let me bring that up here. What was it? Sports Illustrated. He was nominated by Sports Illustrated for Youth Athlete of the Year this year. So huge shout out to you, Derek, 3-sport varsity athlete who didn't let being born without his right hand stop him from achieving athletic excellence. And I don't know like his numbers in lacrosse. I don't know his numbers in football, but such a solid season from a hockey standpoint here in his senior year. Such a cool story, and I'd love to have him on some point this summer to tell that story. But I remember, I don't know if you remember this, Hurls. There was a goalie named. He was a high draft pick. He ended his career, I think, with the Rangers. Dan Blackburn. Does that ring a bell?
No, not at the current moment.
So he had nerve damage in his glove hand, and he had to end up playing with 2 blockers, I think it was. At some point, he tried to make it work, and I was talking about that story with him and stuff like that. And super nice kid, Derek Black. Shout out to you. Congratulations on an incredible year. Congratulations on an achievement like being nominated by anything by Sports Illustrated at such a young age. So a couple clicks for you, kid. And like I said, anytime you want to pop on the pod and talk hockey, talk goalie with us, you are more than welcome, man. So shout out to you.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, especially from a goalie perspective, having the ability to fashion a blocker that would work for that type of situation. That's insane. Shout out to you, Derek, and keep it going.
Oh, I gotta pull that 1 second. Yeah, I don't know. I just like I almost want to see that setup. I have to see it. It's like, and to be able to play at any competitive level of sports with something like that. I mean, having one arm in lacrosse, making that work. I mean, I think of this. I mean, you're a baseball guy, right? So you know who Jim Abbott was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Think of Jim Abbott. He was told by his high school coach he would never amount to anything, and he threw a no-hitter for the Yankees with one hand. With one hand, he had to teach himself how to not just throw, but be able to switch the glove to his throwing hand to be able to field the ball after every single pitch, which is insane when you think about it. And again, he threw a no-hitter in the majors. Yeah, insane. I want to say he's a Hall of Famer. I could be wrong, but yeah, I immediately thought about guys like Jim Abbott when talking to him, and such a cool story. And I hope we get to hear more of it. So, any final thoughts from you, Hurls, before we get out of here?
Yeah, not too many other than what we've discussed. We'll see what happens here. I think there's a very, very significant chance nothing happens for the next month. This is kind of how it operates in the NHL. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a sneaky little signing or trade maybe in the next few weeks, but I think it's more likely than not that we're going to go into August, into early September with this is the current roster. But again, I think everybody should not panic. should feel confident with the group that they compiled. And yeah, I'm excited. I think this is a really exciting time to be a Buffalo sports fans. Both teams are really good at the same time, which I don't think we've been able to say maybe since the late 90s. So I think everybody should celebrate it, should enjoy their summers, get outside, do things that you wouldn't normally do during the football and hockey season, and we'll be ready to go come September and October.
And I know you started a new job recently, and I know your schedule is, I mean, all over the place, but hopefully we can kind of get back to our normal, once a week podcast, barring anything like breaking, like a Connor Hellebuyck trade or a Patrick Kane signing. We'll kind of get back on the old schedule until the season starts, where we'll ramp things up. But again, appreciate you guys who did pop in today. We had a really good turnout, as I can see from the peanut gallery today, here on a Tuesday night, and then just the overall viewership. Just extremely grateful for you guys. Please make sure that if you've enjoyed this podcast, that you subscribe. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are also on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You can find myself at Duane S39. You can find my co-host at CHurls13. I always forget your Instagram handle, so I'll let you say that. Same thing for our Instagram handles, though, for myself and Two Goalies One Mike. If you're watching on YouTube, like I see most of you are, please hammer that like button. Apparently, there's a hype button now. You can hype our show. Hype the shit out of our show. Like, everybody watching right now, like and hype our show. Really appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys later. And as always, go Sabres.